First thing to say about question 2 is it can all be checked on your calculator. Obviously the point of the revision is that you learn the skills, but if you go into complex number mode, which is the second mode, you can, as long as you've worked out the parts correctly, and there are some various options on the options menu as well to get real and imaginary parts and the conjugates. This can all be checked on your calculator. I will leave that for you to play with and work out. Right, so with this question, okay, so for this question you can see we're going to need various forms. It might be worth just before we start noting down the conjugates of z and w. So z star is 2 minus 3i, and then we could also do with w star, which is 6 plus 4i. So that's probably going to be quite useful. Okay, especially for the first question where it just wants us to add those two things together. So we can just add them together, simplify, and we should get 8 plus i. So part B, now this one's the real part of w minus w star. So 6 take away 4i, take away 6 plus 4i, which is going to give us 6 minus 6 is 0. I don't need to worry about the imaginary part so much. It's actually negative 8i, but the question wanted the real part of w minus w star, which is just 0. So part C now, we want z cubed and then star. So we need to do 2 plus 3i cubed and then the conjugate of that. Now you can use the binomial expansion, or you can just multiply out all the brackets. So if we use binomial expansion, that's going to be 2 cubed plus 3 times 2 squared times 3i plus 3 times 2 times 3i squared plus 3i cubed. So that's going to be 8. 3 times 4 times 3 plus 36i plus 3 times 3 squared times 2. So 54i squared plus 3 cubed times I cubed. Right, so then we're going to simplify that by remembering I squared is negative 1. And then we can take another I squared out of the I cubed. So, not 8, we want 8 to the negative 54, let's simplify that in one go. So negative 46 plus 9i, but we want the conjugate of that, so negative 46 take away 9i. Right, for part D, I'll leave you to think about whether this is going to be the same as part C, and maybe we can try it out. Part E, we want 1 over w, so we want 1 over 6 minus 4i. Now, the way to do that without just putting it in the calculator is to realise the denominator, which means multiplying by its conjugate, rather like when you're rationalising surds. So 6 plus 4i over. Now what you're going to find if you multiply this out properly is a couple of the terms are going to cancel. So we're going to end up with 36 minus 16i squared. So 6 plus 4i over. Remembering that I squared is negative 1. That's going to be over 52. And then you can just cancel that down, split it into the parts. So the real part is 3/26, and the imaginary part is 1/13. Now f, as we already know what 1 plus w is, because we just worked that out in part E, it's probably easiest just to work out what 1 over z is as well, and then if you realise 1 over z, then you should be able to quite easily be able to add those two things together. It is worth noting here that depending on how the question had been set up, you could have changed that so that it has a common denominator. So if you had previously in the question for some reason worked out what z plus w was and w times z was, you could do a little bit of algebra first and then just put those parts in perhaps and then realise it. I think for this question our method is going to be much quicker though.